From the top end of the country, help is on its way. But in the middle of a disaster zone, providing relief is rarely easy. Cockpit vision from this RAAF aircraft shows how treacherous rescue missions can be when even the best laid plans to evacuate Malakuta thwarted by Mother Nature.
It's not possible to fly in or out of Malakuta, but we believe we may have up to another 300 people to move from Malakuta over the next few days.
More than 400 Army reservists have already been mobilised out of the 3,000 who received the compulsory call-out on the weekend. And from Canberra came an impassioned promise of help.
Whatever it takes, whatever it costs, we will ensure the resilience and future of this country.
The Prime Minister's announced the government will commit $2 billion to rebuilding bushfire-ravaged towns over the next 2 years. The National Bushfire Recovery Agency will be responsible for rebuilding roads and infrastructure, mental health support, attracting tourists back to fire-devastated regions, rolling out 20 Service Australia pop-ups to help bushfire victims access services like Medicare and Centrelink. But those who've been affected by the bushfires say what's been available until now is far from enough.
I'm disgusted in the way that the government's handling it.
Robert Provenzali lives with his partner, toddler and 8-month-old baby in Batemans Bay. They've been without power for a week and without an income for 2 since the fires stopped his work on the local bridge upgrade.
There's tens of thousands of families that are going to need some sort of income in the next few weeks or maybe even months.
Social media posts also paint a picture of life in the wake of the bushfires with no support. One mother, who's being discharged from Canberra Hospital with newborn twins, writes,
"We are not able to get home to Eden. If you have a unit available, let me know."
While this man's entire workplace was destroyed by the fires, he simply says,
"Let me know if anyone has any work."
The Navy has arrived on the south coast. HMAS Adelaide sits in the bay just to the south of the town of Eden. But in the background, a reminder that this part of the world is still under threat. A local woodchip mill burns, taken over by the border fire.
When we were, off the coast and in the bay, the conditions with visibility were horrendous, and it truly brought forth, the intensity and the severity of the fires that were in the area.
The Navy has brought with it 300 tonnes of supplies.
Where we are now is normally the aircraft hangar. We converted it into Hotel Adelaide at the moment, ready to receive evacuees.
Officers are liaising with authorities on the ground to figure out where they're most needed.
The other thing that we have a capability of doing is, with our aircraft, is identifying those hotspots and identifying and doing damage assessments as well from the air.
But some locals are questioning if the Defence Force should have been called in earlier.
A bit late, really. Seriously, the armed forces should have been in place in August when this was all starting to unfold.
Jenny and Arthur Robb were evacuated from their home in nearby Kaya on Saturday. They're still unable to go home, and there's no word on when this roadblock will be gone.
It's just an emotional roller coaster, really. You go from grief to anger to fear. You worry about your family.
The heavens have opened above Eden, but not enough rain has fallen to put the border fire out. Despite conditions, firefighters are working on.
We're here, so we thought we might as well do something that's helping the people in town a little bit, maybe give them a little bit more confidence and, just help them on their way, but they've got a big job in front of them.
Locals here in Eden have been through a harrowing few days, under the threat of fire and under a blood orange or simply black sky. Some are still down here at the wharf, near the water. Others can't get home. In Bermagui, roads are beginning to reopen, but locals have to boil drinking water and there's still no power.
I want to acknowledge Essential. They're working around the clock to get the power back on. It's great that we're starting to see food trucks turn up into Bermagui.
But in the interim, frustration is growing.
If these politicians don't get off their arse and do something and lead, don't follow, lead.
Weeks into this crisis, patience is wearing thin.
Let's go to our reporter Helen Frost, who joins us from Rural Fire Service headquarters in Sydney. Helen, as we've been reporting, there's been another confirmed death. What can you tell us about that?
So it is a 71-year-old man who was last seen on his property on New Year's Eve. He was from Nerigunda, which is in the Eurobodalla Shire, that's near Maruya, and he was in the Badger Forest fire. So police and rescue teams were finally able to get in there today because their ground has only just been cleared for them to get through, and they found him between his property and his car. So we've also heard that a strike force has been set up in the area. It's called Strike Force Indara, and the police will be working to figure out exactly what the cause of the blaze was, how many stock losses, and to get all of that information together. But it could be a few days before we get any more detail.